Did you know you could sponsor Nerd and Tie? That's right, for just $20 an episode, we'd read your name here and even say something nice about you, because you'll have paid us to. That's right, all you have to do is go to nerdandtie.com and go on the right side or on the bottom of the page on the mobile version of the site and click on the sponsor stuff and send us $20. It literally could not be easier.
On this episode of Nerd and Tie, horror director Wes Craven has passed away. We are launching an Indiegogo campaign starting on Tuesday. Star Trek Renegades isn't very good. Paul Feig is now reporting directly to Disney and no longer the Marvel Creative Committee. The mass shooting was averted at Pokemon World Championship. Wizard World has lost money for the second quarter in a row, and TCE2 is having financial issues. All this, as well as your mail, on Nerd and Tie.
Much better that time.
A little bit, if you don't count the... Anyways, well, folks, welcome to the only podcast on the internet with a dress code. Welcome to Nerd and Tie. I am one of your triplicate of hosts, Professor Firsters, and with me, as always, are the very masculine Trey Dorn.
My beard is almost back.
And the very whimsical Nick Izumi.
Whimsical is a Willy Wonka film festival. Wait, that's not fun.
Then Willy Wonka. There's only
Wait,
one.
would that be like a film festival that just
There's two movies. One of them is good and one of them is terrible.
Or would it be a movie festival run by Willy Wonka of just like other films?
I would rather watch the movies he wants to watch than adapt his story.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That'd work.
I think we've caught on to something here. Somebody quick, make Willy Wonka real.
Well, what's Gene Wilder doing?
Nothing, really.
Yeah.
What is
right?
Gene Wilder? Yeah, see, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. He is real. Willy Wonka is very real. Anyways, welcome, guys. It's been a good fortnight. Of course, last time you heard from we were all together was at GeekCon 2 weeks ago.
I miss it.
I miss it too.
Because I could just like hit you, and it would be real instead of like
but
glaring at you through an internet wall.
But you didn't hit me, Trey. Not once.
Not that you remember.
Oh, dear.
Right. Anyways, we've got a lot going on this fortnight. Of course, the last couple episodes we've had to start off with some rather sad news, and we're going to have to do that again this time. Last Sunday, that would be Sunday, August the 30th, horror director icon Wes Craven passed away at the age of 76 after losing a battle with brain cancer. Of course, Wes Craven, director of such films as Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, Last House on the Left, made movies all the way up through the late 2000s, pretty much created the rules and defined what slasher films were. And without him, a subgenre of the horror genre would pretty much be non-existent.
Also, I wouldn't be a Swamp Thing fan.
That's true. He also directed Swamp Thing.
Which we only know because Nick keeps reminding us.
Hey, it's a good movie.
But, of course, I mean, what can you say other than yeah, I mean, Wes Craven was phenomenal at what he did. Of course, my favorite thing being that when Scream came out, of course, I mean, right, talk about defining genres and turning things on their head. Drew Barrymore, who was a huge part of the promotional campaign for that movie, dead within the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, it was a genius twist.
He Hitchcocked her.
Like, you know, like you said, like, oh, Drew Barrymore, she's getting back on her feet after E.T. and oh wow, okay, her character dead.
It was one of the better cinematic teases. That's well crafted trailers. I think the only trailers that in recent memory that did anything like that was Bryan Cranston in Godzilla.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure that was done on purpose so much as just was really bad marketing on their part.
That's true, but I mean, gosh, we might as well take a moment. I mean, he directed a lot of films. Anybody have a specific Craven film? I mean, we already know what Nick's is.
I've always, I know it's cliche to say it, but Scream, I think, was, I was never a big horror film fan, and so Scream is one of the few, horror films that I truly enjoyed, and I think the meta deconstructionist angle on it is part of why I enjoyed it so much.
I'm kind of right there with you on that because I mean, for the longest time, the slasher films had to follow a very unique formula. All the characters are really dumb. I've always thought she ran outside of the house instead of running upstairs. Characters in horror movies
Well,
always
running upstairs is usually the bad idea because that traps you in the house.
And that's what I loved about Scream was that even though these characters were trying to get away from that general following of the rules, it still didn't work, and I thought that was very well done, and it was kind of Craven looking at what he created and reconstructing everything.
I was about to say, especially since Craven created most of those rules himself, it was great that he was the one to deconstruct them.
Yeah.
It was very good. But, unfortunately, Wes Craven dead at the age of 76, so thoughts go out to his family, and he's probably directing some pretty twisted things in the afterlife movies, because that's what happens.
Is that really comfort? Okay, moving on.
All right, so let us.
I would think it is. If I were a director, I'd just be like, yeah, let me just keep making horrible, or not horrible, but horrifying things.
Let's move on to happier stuff.
Yeah.
So, as we announced at our previous episode, at the GeekCon episode, the three of us, we're starting a new convention.
We sure are.
Yeah.
In September of 2016, and at the Nerd Tie Expo, to remind you, will be held September 23rd through 25th, 2016. So that's next year at the Plaza.
Exactly 1 year from now, too.
Yes, at the Plaza Hotel and Suites in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome. And all three of us idiots are going to be there. And again, of course, you should be there too. But most importantly, though, is right now we know we can run the convention and it's going to be awesome. But we want to do more stuff than what's in our current budget. And so we can raise money to do more cool stuff, like have more than just a couple guests, add more features and advanced stuff to our programming. We're starting an Indiegogo campaign. Yay!
We sure are, Trey.
Huzzah!
Now we're gonna wait to launch it Tuesday, so after the Labor Day weekend.
That'd be Tuesday for the listeners at home. Tuesday, September the 8th.
Yes,
is when that's going to happen.
The day before my birthday.
Is your birthday coming up?
My birthday's September 9th.
Oh, I wouldn't have remembered anyway.
No.
Whatever.
But we're launching it. So, if you want to get a really great birthday present for me, you can always donate to our Indiegogo fund so we can run a better convention. Don't you guys think that would be a great birthday present?
I think that'd
better
be the
than
best
what I'm going to
birthday
get
present.
you, which is probably not much. If anything.
But anyways, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna have some really exciting sponsor level stuff. Also, when the campaign launches, you're gonna get to see a video we shot at GeekCon. So you'll get to watch a video that involves me not having a beard at all,
which is really a reward in and of itself.
Exactly. So it's we're gonna have some great sponsor tiers. It's gonna be pretty great. Most of them are gonna be things like, besides, some of the levels will just include basic pre-registration. Some of the other ones will include things like priority seating at events at the convention, early access to the vendor room. We're also going to be offering higher level reward tiers, like admission for life. No matter where we run a convention, if Nerd and Tie runs a convention, you get in. Period.
No matter what.
No
it could
matter
be in
what.
Melbourne. We could be in Melbourne running a convention, and you could get in there for free. I mean, not in Melbourne,
you
but
flew there, and
if you went
if we
to
ever ran a
Melbourne.
convention there. But so if we run a besides the Nerd and Tie Expo show in Eau Claire, you would also be able to go to if we started one in another city too. So that's awesome. Also, again, if you're willing to go to like some of the really high insane tiers,
you get some really high insane rewards.
There is a reward which, besides including all the basic sponsor things, for $5,000, we will tattoo your name on Fur's ass, and
it's gonna happen.
Kidding.
Right on my butt. I'll do it. Right, I can show people the spot it would be, but I don't want to get out of my chair.
Yeah,
but it'll happen. Your name right there on my cheek.
And we promise you this is 100% legitimate, that we are totally willing to do this. If you're willing to spend that kind of money, we are willing to put your name
on Fur's butt.
In fact, actually, we're going to put that out there twice. One for each side.
Oh, yeah. No, right. I'll do it. Absolutely. If someone wants to donate $10,000, they can own both cheeks.
2 backers.
Or one backer doing it twice.
Can get their name. If you're a married couple and you want your names to be next to each other forever, each of you could buy
space on my butt.
This is your opportunity, really.
On Fur's rear end. And I think that's a solid investment and showing of commitment of your love.
I should probably give my tattoo artist a heads up that might be in my future plans, just so he can start mentally preparing himself.
Oh boy.
But anyways, so we'll make an additional post about that on nerdandtie.com once that actually launches, and along with a post on expo.nerdandtie.com. Also, expo.nerdandtie.com is the URL for the convention website. So, and also you should sign up for the mailing list if you want to be kept up to date on all the latest stuff. The form for it is all over the expo.nerdandtie.com website.
We'll put a little link up in the show notes as well for those that are looking for it.
Oh, but of course.
If, again, you haven't heard Trey say expo.nerdandtie.com.
Expo.nerdandtie.com.
Expo.nerdandtie.com?
Expo.nerdandtie.com. By not buying a separate domain name, we're passing the savings on to you.
So to check us out, please support us.
We should probably move on to more sad news, though.
Yeah, we should move. That was something that makes us happy. Nick, tell us about something that makes us sad.
Well, I'm not sure if this one makes us sad so much as we told you so kind of thing. I remember early on in the show, we were looking at a little project that Tim Russ and Walter Koenig were working on called Star Trek Renegades.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were going to fund a pilot movie for a new Star Trek series with the intention of getting it picked up by and putting Star Trek back on TV. Well, they got the funding, they made the movie, and they took it to Paramount, and Paramount laughed them out of the office. Because let me tell you, Star Trek Renegades...
Well, they took it to CBS. Let's actually be clear. Because of the Viacom split, Paramount is still producing the Star Trek movies, but CBS, which is a different like CBS and Viacom used to be the same company, and now they're different companies, so CBS currently owns Star Trek.
All right, well,
they're no longer the same company. It's really confusing.
Well, anyway, CBS, though, they did laugh them out of the office, because let me tell you, Star Trek Renegade is terrible.
Oh my god,
good.
It's so bad.
Not very good.
I watched it. I believe Trey watched it.
I got through some of it.
I have it. I have it saved to my hard drive, so I can watch it again and again. It is so awful.
And I believe I agree with Nick's original sentiment. Literally the first thing he sent out was, "Is this an Adult Swim parody?"
Yeah. It looks like one of the cheap parodies that Adult Swim would run at like 3 a.m. I have seen other fan films with better production values than this, at least in terms of CG.
But Nick, the song "Captain of My Soul."
Oh yeah, really good stuff.
So
at least
I have. Sorry, you're saying, Nick?
I'd say, well, at least we got dead Vic Mignogna out of it. Like, you guys this thing.
Yeah, no, okay. So if you go back into the podcast. And you go back to, I can't remember if it's episode 6 or episode 9.
Early on.
This, I think, might be. I think it's episode 6. Whichever one it is, the Star Trek Renegades logo is like our image for that episode. If you go back and listen to that episode, I come up with some very distinct criticisms of an earlier fan film that Tim Russ did of Gods and Men. And I was worried that he would do everything that he did in that one wrong. And guess what? He did. Like, my criticisms of, like, my guesses as to everything bad about it was absolutely correct.
Trey, we've already proved that you're a prophet of doom.
I am. But I will say that the one thing I could not have predicted, which is just amazing about the whole thing, though, was, and the first time, apparently the music video has been out since March, but the Captain of My Soul song that goes along with the movie, it's just so amazing. When this came on during the credits, I started laughing hysterically.
I don't blame you. Good God.
Stop it. Stop.
So,
Don't. Just stop it.
Okay.
Stop. Cut it. Don't.
can we make it stop, please?
Make it. What button do I push to stop this? Why do we give him control over everything?
So, what
I'm the
I'll
one.
say, you know what was the worst part? You know what was the worst part of this movie? Because it wasn't the god-awful camera work. And let me tell you, that was bad. It wasn't the majority of actors acting like this was a high school play, walking out, saying their line, and then leaving. That wasn't the worst part. For me, the worst part was just how aggressively rapey this movie was.
Yeah, oh my God, right?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Like, okay, so what? First off, let's go to the fact that they had to, of course, bring up the word rape gang, which
Yeah.
the only time I'd ever heard that in my life was Star Trek: The Next Generation in the Narmi parts of Tasha Yar's backstory.
Yeah.
And like, I had been so happy that like the rest of Star Trek, but let's talk about like that stuff was happening on the context of that was I think the New London colony, which was a failed colony that was not under it was in Federation space but not under Federation control. Like,
Right.
Lexa's in prison. Where is she well, first off, do we remember where she's imprisoned?
Nope.
Like, who is she the prisoner of?
Oh, wait, the Federation sent her there, didn't they?
Yeah,
Isn't that a plot point?
right?
Yeah.
The Federation sent her to that prison. Since when did the Federation send people to prisons that were run like that was almost like Rorapente like level, like pre-civil, like early Klingon Empire shit. And you know what? Guess what? Rorapente didn't have rape gangs.
Yeah, the whole Star Trek canon seemed to be very loose, played very loosely.
Well, it's
in Renegades.
Well, Renegades suffered like, okay, so the rapey stuff was bad, and also like there was more.
And there's
of that.
tons of it. They keep bringing it up.
Yeah, like that was just one example. Like that was the only one with any sort of like canonical connection to something that exists, and I was shocked that it was happening at a place that the Federation was purposely sending prisoners because it seems so antithetical to everything we know about the Federation.
They don't do that.
But it keeps getting brought up over and over again by other characters, including the villain.
Right, there's the whole rapey scene with the Betazoid.
Yeah.
Like, what the frick? It's...
Where he graphically describes his organ. Yeah, it was terrible.
This show, okay, so it is nice though to see that Edward Furlong and Sean Young aren't dead, so that was good. Because what, Edward Furlong and Sean Young, like, I actually didn't immediately recognize Sean Young. I just was like, I know that person. Why do I know that person? But it had been so long since I had seen Sean Young in anything. That, like, I was like, holy crap, that's from Blade Runner. But, So the problem is actually, like, there are good actors in this thing. Vic Mignogna, I hate him and want him to die, but it's actually not a terrible actor.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I think I think Garrus is probably one of the highlights.
I like Vic Mignogna's acting. I don't like him as a person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But like, and Tim Russ can act, he just can't direct. The biggest problem with Renegades is, okay, so Tim Russ's visual direction, while better than Of Gods and Men, was still pretty bad, but it was nowhere near as bad. The weakest problem in this entire thing, even the bad CGI in the opening scenes, which they could have easily done a set in a way that didn't look like so fakey, which I don't understand. But the biggest problem that with this entire thing was the script. The script was shit. It
was flimsy and not.
Well, and another reviewer pointed out that they have this habit of telling and not showing in this script, like just giving exposition and not really like making you understand that, like Walter Koenig's scenes are just like really painful because he just will like directly kind of describe what's happening, and they're only saved by the fact that Walter Koenig can deliver a line. It's just that it when those kinds of lines then come out of actors who aren't as good, they become like, oh wow, this is really stupid. And I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Why is she writing that on the wall? And how is she related to Khan? She's like kind of related to Khan somehow, but
loosely, very vaguely.
They never really explain, because Khan's only known canonical descendant is his son, who dies in Star Trek 2.
That we know of.
Dead.
His wife, like, none of those people should be alive.
Someone stuck around. It was like, hey, want to get off the planet? We just got the Reliant. Nah, I'm going to chill here with the brain slugs. Thank you very much.
Fried brain slugs for dinner. This one's been in a Russian.
Just walk around and don't wear a hat. So, Star Trek Renegades. What do we all give it?
An F-. So here's the thing: is actually I'd probably be more forgiving of Renegades if it was just a fan film. Like if someone said, "Hey, I made a Star Trek fan film and showed me this," I would be like, "Okay, I liked it. It wasn't good, but I liked it."
That's kind of impressive that you did that, yeah.
But they pitched it as though they were making a television-level pilot.
And it was not. It was way below that.
It was Adult Swim parody at 3 in the morning. Quality parody.
It made Too Many Cooks look like a high-budget masterpiece at point.
Too Many Cooks was a masterpiece.
Yeah, are you trying to tell me it wasn't a masterpiece, Nick?
Okay, maybe I spoke too strongly.
It was Too Many Cooks at the very least is a visual masterpiece in the way that it like echoed the visual themes and production values of the shows it was spoofing.
Yeah, no, it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was exactly what. Anyways, so Star Trek Renegades, not very good.
Let's throw it out and ditch it.
Yeah.
Speaking of ditching things,
it was reported back on early last week that Marvel Studios was not exactly disbanding at first it was reported that Marvel Studios was disbanding the Marvel Creative Committee that pretty much was there from the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Later turns out that's not the case, but Marvel head person for the Cinematic Universe, Paul Feig,
Kevin.
Kevin
Feig.
Okay, there's Paul Feig, the guy making Ghostbusters, and there's Kevin Feig.
Kevin Feig,
however it's pronounced, who's the Marvel
Cinematic.
I will tell you, I would watch the Paul Feig Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The Kevin Feig is no longer reporting to the Marvel Creative Committee, as in instead reporting directly to Disney. which is huge for reasons that let's get into, because the Marvel Creative Committee has basically molded the Marvel Cinematic Universe since the beginning, since Iron Man, really. I mean, before they really knew what was going to be going on with this huge cinematic universe, they were there and present. No longer really taking part in the film, is going to be there exclusively as an advisory committee for the TV universe. But
for TV tie-ins and cartoons, and for straight to DVD cartoons too.
But that means that Isaac Perlmutter, Dan Buckley, and Joe Quesada are not going to really have anything to do with the movies anymore.
Well, and let's not forget everybody else who's on that. Brian Michael Bendis is also, and Dan Buckley. Yeah, because the committee included Alan Fine, Joe Quesada, Dan Buckley, and Brian Michael Bendis. Well, the big thing is that some of the restrictions that the Kevin Feige, how are we supposed to? No one ever told me how to pronounce that name. I've only ever seen it written down.
Same.
He was reportedly threatening to quit if he had to keep reporting straight to Marvel Comics, because what the problem was is that on a lot of his film decisions, he was getting budget restrictions.
Yeah, huge restrictions
from considering
Perlmutter, especially.
Considering it's one of the most profitable film franchises of the past decade, seemed kind of insane. You know, if these seem like the movies that you can take the big budget risk on.
I don't know, Trey. I don't think that Civil War really needs Robert Downey Jr.
See, that was now that this whole thing has been disbanded, you're hearing all these insane reports about the things that Perlmutter said. Isaac Perlmutter has said, the whole bit about oh yeah, we can easily replace Robert Downey Jr. Or maybe the worst thing that I've ever heard was that they could replace Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle.
The Terrence Howard situation is more complicated. The Terrence Howard situation, Terrence Howard got paid more for Iron Man 1 than Robert Downey Jr. did.
Right, but the general idea and the comment that was said by a member of the committee that they could replace Terrence Howard with another black actor and no one would notice.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. I think the only reason why people accepted the change of the actor for that
Don Cheadle was a lot better.
Don Cheadle's a much better actor than Terrence Howard. Let's not kid ourselves here. Don Cheadle is probably one of the best actors working in film right now, period. So the fact that we got to have him be War Machine instead of Terrence Howard is an upgrade. But
personally,
I'm happy with Joe Quesada not making any decisions regarding cinematic Spider-Man's love life.
I was about to say, especially now that Spider-Man's involved. Yeah,
I hate you, Joe Quesada.
Do you think the minute he heard that, he started just watering at the mouth, yes, guess what I'm going to be able to do?
I'll make it so no love interest is introduced ever. I don't know. The problem is that there's no established well, actually, Sony's screwing up the Spider-Man cinematic stuff more than Marvel ever could, because the caveats all required that Spider-Man remain the high school Spider-Man. So
and white.
Yeah. So that's Sony's fault. But Brian Michael Bendis is a god, though, so a little sad to know that he won't have input on the movies anymore. But
I really like Bendis's writing, so
yeah. But who knows? I don't think honestly, I think the creatives on the board were never the problem. I think it was the budgetary people, the business people, who were the problem. And so by allowing Kevin Figueroa to report directly to Disney, it keeps him on board. Now the real question is this completely good? A lot of the leaks have been out of Feige's camp and not from the Marvel Comics camp. So that's why everything is all about isn't this great? So I think only time's going to tell whether or not this is actually a good idea, because frankly, we don't know if some of the decisions that were stopped in process were good decisions that were stopped. Like, for all we know, Kevin might have driven this car right into a cliff.
Without the committee, and who knows?
Who knows?
We are going to still see the committee's sort of advising hand for the next two movies, with Civil War and probably Doctor Strange
Well,
as
Doctor
well.
Strange is like Fiji's pet project, so I think it's going to be the most Fiji movie no matter what.
But regardless, the committee's hand is still going to be seen in those two movies. Seems like,
and there's still, I believe that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Peggy Carter TV series
is still going to be
fall under their purview.
Was Feige ever part of that necessarily?
Yeah.
Did he have?
Yeah, he
had
had
a
to
huge
okay it. And remember that Feige was he was part of all of those decisions to make those shows. So
yeah.
So I'm just hoping that it doesn't reduce the incorporation between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what I'm more concerned about. Peggy Carter, I'm not too worried about, only because she's never going to be interacting with the current heroes anyways.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Time will tell. Regardless, Kevin Feige no longer having to report to anybody other than the heads of Disney.
Yes.
Talking straight to
Not
the
like
mouse.
the head of Disney that they keep under Disney World. Not like Frozen.
Well, are we sure that people aren't directly reporting to him? You know, Walt Disney
Might be.
did go to elementary school with my great-grandmother.
Really?
Yeah. He apparently was so poor he could not afford shoes.
Oh.
That is literally everything I know about that story.
I believe it.
Maybe they're all reporting to the head of Walt Disney. Who knows?
Let's go ask the head of Walt Disney about my great-grandmother.
My hunger. One of my favorite Robot Chicken sketches. Anyways.
Let's
Moving
go
on.
to a darker place.
I'd say
Nick.
we're actually going to go somewhere darker than that now.
It has a good ending, though, right? I mean, I'd say it's
Sort
like
of.
as happy an ending as it could have.
It's still kind of terrifying. There was so a mass shooting was averted at the Pokemon World Championship just a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of horrifying. The police arrested James Austin Stumbo and Kevin Norton in Boston, Massachusetts. The pair had driven from Iowa with a 12-gauge shotgun, an AR-15, and 250 rounds of ammo for the two weapons. They had been making threats about shooting up participants of the Pokemon World Championship. And thankfully, one of the moderators did take them quite seriously, and the police caught them before they could do anything. Good God.
Wow.
Yeah.
But how could we have ever been able to stop it, right?
Well, I mean,
Clearly,
okay,
yeah.
so this whole story's amazing.
I'm just glad that they were stopped.
I mean that's why I mentioned the happy ending. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have ended a lot more tragically.
Well, so what happened was that these guys were making online threats about killing people at the World Championships, and so the moderators, like, partially over being banned from a Facebook group, and thankfully people who had been talking to them on Facebook went and told the people at the show. And the people at the show, they went and told the event organizers, and the event organizers talked to the police, and the two guys were stopped immediately. And it's like, and we're talking about, these people drove from Iowa with all this to Boston. This is Jesus. Like, it's easy to forget that at conventions and at geek events that we exist in the same real world as everything else.
Uh-huh.
And it's the fact is that as the only, country in the world where this sort of thing happens
On a regular basis.
it's frankly, any large gathering's a target. And I don't You know,
It's terrifying. Yeah, it's
I don't care. Like, I'm at the point where, I mean, I know that not all of our listeners may politically be on the same level with me. I'm very much a supporter of gun control legislation, and you know, and I don't want to get too political on the podcast here, because I don't want to get into like fights about this, but the truth is that we are the only country, we are the only Western nation where these mass shootings are happening, and since the major difference is access to firearms.
Yep.
I don't think either of us would argue with you.
Yeah.
It's,
like,
and people argue that they were set on killing anybody, they'd have done it anyway. Yeah, but it's a lot harder to bludgeon a mass group of people to death than it is to just point and click.
Right. Like, okay, so gun control is not going to stop murder.
It's not going to stop everybody.
It's not going to stop murder in the sense that if person A wants to kill person B, right, it's not going to stop those. It will stop mass incidents, though.
But it's the same with any law. It's laws against drunk driving don't stop all drunk driving, but it certainly puts a damper on it. Yeah. You can't just say that because you can't solve all of the problems that you shouldn't solve any of them.
Right. And I mean, yeah.
Off soapbox. Sorry, that's
no. Hey, it's an acceptable soapbox topic, well, and
all three of us agree on this issue pretty much.
And it's incredible, and everyone can be so thankful that it's a little, that the word failed shooting or shooting averted was the headline and not 27, 28 dead.
Yeah.
And so
not who knows how many dead. Yeah,
this is a yeah.
But shout out to the Boston PD. Shout out to the organizers of the Pokemon World Championship.
Shout out to the guy on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
Who said, "Holy crap, we need to worry about this." Like, shout out to that dude. That dude is like
a hero
because he recognized a dangerous situation and did something instead of just laughing about and not taking them seriously. Because there's too often in our culture we dismiss things that are said and done online. Where people are just joking around online, and it's like, and so they don't take things seriously. No, it's when you say it, it's someone saying it. If someone is like, people talk about like trolling or things like that. Oh, well, they wouldn't say it in person, right? But deep down, somewhere in that person's brain is the desire to say those words. And so, I'm not saying we should have, obviously, thought police. No, but it does mean in situations where guy says he's going to do something violent means you take it seriously because somewhere in that person's head they want to do it. And
like, if we're going to if we're going to roast terrible people, it also takes back to, I've had the same argument about like the Gamergate people when they're like, well, just because someone says some terrible threat on the internet doesn't mean they're going to go through with it. This is proof right here. Some people are going to go through with it.
Right, exactly.
Like you said, Trey, you don't say things unless that thought popped into your head, which means if that thought's in your head,
that means that, I would rather have some poor schmuck who wasn't going to actually do anything accidentally get talked to by security at the door, like who turns out to be unarmed and just has a 5-minute problem, than, a bunch of dead people.
Agreed.
And again, we're not talking about, we don't want to violate anyone's civil liberties. We don't want to do anything like that. It's, this is simply, if you see someone saying, I'm going to blow up the mall, tell somebody.
Egg freaking.
Anyways, so. Exactly. Decent news that nobody got hurt.
At least that one had a happy ending, but that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Let's move on to
let's
move on to Schadenfreude from Terror.
Right, Schadenfreude is something everyone can get along. Of course, Wizard World, the giant national, the Wizard World
international
company, international, organizer of such events as Wizard World Chicago and Wizard World Minneapolis and Wizard World everywhere. Literally anywhere there's a major city, there's probably a Wizard World convention in it. Has released their second quarter 2015 financial results. And if you own stock in Wizard World, well, you're probably not having a great time looking at your portfolio, because for the second quarter in a row, Wizard World International has announced massive losses.
Well, I don't know if I would say, well, losses, yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Not great for Wizard World. Of course, Wizard World known for they are strictly a for-profit convention, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But they do charge about $500 to basically smile at David Tennant. So, whether or not people that means that people are getting kind of tired of having that extra expense at conventions, or if it's just a general feeling of the convention scene, not really sure. But it certainly isn't working for Wizard World.
I'm fairly certain it's saturation. It's so the first quarter report they lost $980,000, and the second quarter they lost $1.8 million, so a total loss of $2.78 million this year, just the first half of 2015. But the Newsarama has numbers that we're talking about how their average amount money earned per show has dropped. I'm trying to find the number in this article, but
what I'm looking through, Business Wire is reporting that the gross margin was decreased $2.8 million from the comparable period in 2014.
Yeah, so in 2014, each Wizard World show earned an average of $1.8 million and in revenue, while in 2015 it dropped to $1.1 million. Now, they increased numbers of shows dramatically, but that also means that some of the shows they're launching are cannibalizing. The people who go to these big shows, I mean, Wizard World Chicago was just a few weeks ago, was 2 weeks ago. It's while we were at GeekCon, Wizard World Chicago was happening. And that is their big show. That's their flagship show. That's kind of their original show when they took over Chicago Comic-Con and renamed it Wizard World Chicago. That's really their first event. That con brings in like 80,000 people. But say they launched this last year, and in the winter, and it's going to be in the springs next year. Wizard World Wisconsin in Madison. Wizard World Wisconsin in Madison is only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the venue for Wizard World Chicago. The attendees who went to that Wizard World Wisconsin shows previously had full access to that Wizard World Chicago show. So what happens is as they increase their shows, again, they're doing 24 shows now.
Oh, jeez.
That's nuts.
That means
that's insanity.
Metro areas aren't necessarily far enough away where people who used to travel to go to one show might instead just go to their local show, but that means that they're decreasing the traffic. They're cannibalizing their own shows by launching new ones, and that's fine if you can keep the budgets down, but clearly they can't. It's this aggressive expansion. I mean, next year's going to be the real test for it, as you know, they won't be new shows that are launching. They'll be established shows that are coming back for a second year, but I think they've hit market saturation for the giant mega shows. With because it's not the same audience who goes to those Wizard World shows who goes to like the mid-sized cons that the three of us prefer to go to.
Right.
It's a different consumer.
It's the kind of people who are willing to shell out, $50 per autograph for whoever ginormous name guest they have.
And
there's nothing wrong with that, but
if that's how you want to spend your money, that's fine.
That consumer saves up all year, and that's fine. But that means that they're probably only going to go to one or two of those a year because they're so expensive. They're not going to hit both.
Right.
Yeah.
And Madison and Chicago are so close to each other. I can't imagine
Yeah. Well, and there's also Wizard World Minneapolis.
Yikes.
Which by the way, Wizard World Minneapolis and Anna Minneapolis are going to be the same weekend next year.
Oh, jeez.
And across the street from each other.
Let them fight.
They're going to be across the street from each other and on the same weekend. And sources have told me, out of animecon.org, Chrono LC, that this was a purposeful decision by Chrono LC.
Wow.
And I'm just saying, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it's going to create brand confusion. It's going to create parking issues.
I'm a big musical guy. I'm a big musicals guy, and all I can think here is the bad idea bears going, you should open a con on the same weekend.
But it's across the street. I think there's a skywalk between the
God,
venues.
That makes me so happy. I don't even care what happens the rest of the day.
That's...
Dear God.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So...
Well, didn't say they were smart business people.
All right, well...
Ryan Coughlin questioned why he made the decision, reportedly said, "No, we did it on purpose. I love Wizard World. I own Wizard World stock." So... I'm not joking. This is real.
Ow.
So...
Yeah, I own Nike stock. That's why I only buy things from Adidas. That's...
Oh, my God. Well, speaking of poor financial decisions and sad trombones when it comes to money, Titletown Comic and Entertainment Expo, a new first-year con that's trying to launch in Green Bay, is having some issues.
Boy, are they ever.
They're supposed to be held in, as of right now, less than a month from now. But they're talking about having to cancel some of their guests. So this is a story that originally I got tipped off by a couple of people. We got tipped off by a couple of people. And actually, the first time we got a tip about it, I didn't want to write anything because I didn't want to be like the naysayer who might be thought of as, I didn't want our bad coverage to add to their problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Because I don't want...
That ain't us. We're not about that life.
But the problem is they've been so public about their money problems that to not report on it would be insane, because the biggest people damaging their situation right now are them. And that's okay. So TCE2, which is how they like to abbreviate Titletown Comic and Entertainment Expo, and I can understand why that's a mouthful, is announced that they're going to have to cut down part of their guest list because they're cutting down their guest list dramatically, and I think the number they're cutting down to is 10, but that's I'm extrapolating that from like information. They haven't directly said that, but they've kind of indirectly said that. And when asked why, apparently they had quote unquote fraudulent sponsors and they're out $10,000 they thought they had. I tried to ask what fraudulent sponsors meant, and organizer Denny Towle said that they had two backers that pledged $3,000 and $7,000 each. I contacted them this morning to get the money, and the phones were not correct. So they didn't have so the phone numbers were wrong that they had from them. I sent emails that bounced back and got word that they were fake people deliberately sent to me. So I have to make up that $10,000 in only a few days, or I can't buy flights. I'm so sick to my stomach. Now, this is a weird thing to say. Like he on the page
that is a really strange.
So it's now, even though he said like it was like recent, they've been struggling. Like they ran a failed Kickstarter that just ended like on the 24th of August. Technically, right now as I'm speaking, they have an ongoing Indiegogo campaign that they promoted once on their page and then deleted all promotion of. The campaign is still technically running, but I don't think they're like treating it like it's running. It's a little weird. And no one, last I checked, no one had donated to it. I could be wrong, but it was still, so, and a lot of the theory is that has to do with Tom Hazert, who is a former co-organizer of the con, who's had some sketchy financial past, like running some weird fake charity stuff involving like a benefit for a musician who never got any of the money from the benefit. And so I think that probably links back to it. But Hazard left when Denny Toll was recovering from falling off a cliff.
Literally.
Back in May, he literally fell off a cliff. He fell 100 feet off a cliff. It was lucky not to sustain any neurological or spinal damage. And that's why. So the show was originally scheduled to be in August, and they delayed it because of that. And totally understand. But the problem is that their website's a mess. Like people have questioned how they can call themselves a comic convention when they really don't have any comics guests listed. And their response was that vendors weren't willing to work with a first-year convention, which makes no sense because vendors are always willing to work with first-year conventions, maybe for not as high a price, but they're willing to work with them, usually if all the information is accessible, like rates.
I'm about to say, their website is kind of sketchy.
You know, yeah, because
extremely sketchy.
Vendors who have been spoken to have said that they dismissed the convention because the website looked sketchy. And if you go click on the vendor link on the website, you get a link to an email. Not vendor rates, not like space requirements, all that stuff. You get an email. And let me tell you, when there's so many conventions popping up around the region, even though conventions still usually hold the place of power in negotiations between conventions and vendor because they run the space that the vendor can get into, vendors still have a lot of places to choose from to apply to. And since they plan their calendar 6 months to a year ahead of time, they aren't going to want to take, like, they'll apply to a different show that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've had vendor issues. Like, they made a post on their Facebook page the other day about, like, should we be giving away free vendor tables? Like,
wow.
No, that's not. I mean, I guess if you want to, but like, that's not where your problem is. It's honestly, Dan Toll seems like a nice guy. I've also talked to this other guy, Paul, who's working with the organization. They seem like nice people, but I really don't think that they know how to run a convention. Danny Toll's background is all with music and concerts and things like that, and there's a lot of things he doesn't necessarily understand about the differences in running an event in this genre. And it's the entire thing is a mess. Also, I found Lorem Ipsum text on their webpage, which always amuses me. Always amuses me. But there's lots of weird things, like photos of the wrong celebrity with the name of another one on the breakout pages for those, like the bio of one actor with the name of another. Like, weird errors that I don't understand. Like, no web page is better than this web page.
See, I only first heard of TCE2 at GeekCon.
I first heard from GeekCon from Richard Engelbert was telling me about it.
Yeah, I was at dinner with a couple of Nexpo staffers, actually, of course, Zach Neal and a couple other folks that are helping us out with the event, and they brought it up because they apparently they were trying to. This convention was getting a whole bunch of like professional wrestlers.
They've canceled that entire wrestling track.
Like, there was like going to be a huge wrestling show with pro wrestlers and amateur wrestlers and all this other. It was incredible, like the way this sounded. And I thought, but then they saw what they were charging for entry, just even for the weekend. It was like $60 for the weekend.
Well, they're trying to run a Wizard World style show right off the bat with no backing. Wizard World took over an existing Chicago Comic-Con when they started.
Not only that, but Wizard World
and had a magazine behind it at the time.
Yeah, there was. I've seen so many conventions start like this, where they try and start big and they charge like these massive amounts to get into something because they're trying. And I wouldn't say. I mean, somebody pointed, well, maybe Green Bay just doesn't want a convention. That's not true. I went to Kitsune.
I was gonna say KitsuneCon's doing fine.
Is doing fine in Green Bay. It nailed its first. It was knocked it out of its park its first year in Green Bay. I mean, it was, even when it was in Appleton, KitsuneCon was one of the best run conventions I've ever been to. I mean, it was wildly popular. People had a lot of fun. They knew what they were doing, and people went. So it's not like they don't necessarily just want. It's not necessarily of the city not wanting a convention. I think it's just a matter of the people running it not being entirely sure how to do it, or maybe even having their goals set too high and not realizing they can't do that within the first year.
Yeah, okay. I think it's people in Wisconsin have a slightly different expectation from a convention than in a lot of regions. The Wisconsin model cons have kind of dominated the dominated the scene in this state for a while between No Brand Con, Daisho Con, Kitsune Con, Geek Con, Anime Milwaukee. It's but the one thing they do leave out is comics. And now, comic shows are often run like this with their big sale things. It's just that the only one running in Wisconsin right now that's a 3-day comic show is Wizard World. And it's successful because it's got the Wizard World name, and obviously Wizard having their own financial problems, but the show was by all accounts a success because it has the Wizard World name behind it. If you're going to start...
Let's say that's not counting the other comic conventions I found in the state that are usually just like a hall rented in a hotel to sell comics in.
Right. It's the comic shows that exist in Wisconsin right now are the one-day shows and that's it. It's the one-day shows I love them. You know, I'm always going to like a one-day show, but it's they're never ambitious and they never turn into something bigger. And what I would love to see is someone try to do a comic-themed Wisconsin model show. I think that would be excellent. I think it could be supportable, and it's frankly not that expensive to run. So,
and people will go. It's literally a, if you build it, they will come kind of situation.
Right, and it's part of the thing, though, is that people around here have an expectation to not pay quite as much.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's the average cost of a 3-day convention has dropped dramatically in this region, in Wisconsin, I should say. In the Midwest, it's not always the same. It's I live in a much more in Indiana is a much more expensive place to go to conventions than
and Michigan's like a different planet, like my little bit there.
Yeah. So if you're gonna run a show in Wisconsin, you have to meet market expectations, and they didn't. And so I think that I'm worried about them. I'm worried about TCE2 because I would like to see an Anchor Con, an Anchor comic show independently run in the state by somebody. And they were the ones attempting to do it.
It's just unfortunate that it was gone about the wrong way.
Yeah. And I think that's just...
If there was ever more a metaphor for TCE2, it's falling off a cliff.
I feel so bad for the guy.
I feel bad for him. Like, I'm glad
just like, I mean, he cracked his pelvis. It was not a fun experience for the guy.
He's a good guy, though. Like, the conversations that have been had of them are good, but, like, it's...
Yeah, he seems like a perfectly nice person. It's just not ready for this like... It's what I think a lot of people have to remember who like do concerts and other things that like another sort of large venue events that the convention scene is a different world and there are so many variables. Like when you're marketing a concert, you've got bands and yes, you have vendors, but you're just mainly trying to worry about marketing to the audience. With this, not only are you marketing to the audience, but you've got to market to everybody who's working with you. Vendors are another one of your customers, and because you're dealing with so many diverse genres, it's a thing. It's a whole thing.
A huge thing.
Speaking of things, we have
Speaking
a mailbag.
of things, we do have a mailbag. It's nuts. All right, it's crazy. We got a mailbag. So let's go. Nick? Are we doing your letter first, or are we doing this? Let's do this one first.
Yeah.
Let's do your weird letter.
Let's do
D first.
Letter. Oh, we'll do.
Oh no, okay, we can do. I'm sorry, I got
weird letter.
I've got
do whichever.
ready.
I don't care. Read a letter. One of you two.
Hey. Anyways, the subject line says, "You guys are awesome." And the message says,
"True.
You guys are really capital R, really lowercase r, really capital R, awesome capital A. I wish I could as cool as you guys with a capital G. Man, you guys have like the coolest podcast, capital P, and you guys are like really capital R, awesome capital A."
We would like to thank whoever Langland's friend
Thanks,
was.
Mom.
For
sure was a letter that we got.
I mean, yeah, we're awesome, but
I mean that goes without saying, though.
Literally, it goes without
tell
saying.
myself that
no one ever has to say that.
I tell myself that every night to make the crying stop. Anyway, let's.
Got a letter. Thanks, really, for the really awesome letter. You're really awesome. You guys are really awesome.
I'm wearing pants, and that's what's important right now.
So you got another letter from Slithery D. And the subject is real world shows set in real worlds. Dear Doctors Nerd and Tie, in the past 2 episodes, you've mentioned both a desire for a crime drama a la Law and Order or any other alphabet soup show, as well as talking about the DC-based Office ripoff NBC is developing. Personally, I'm disappointed that Gotham isn't an adaptation of Gotham Central, the fantastic crime noir by Ed Brubaker. And Slithery D, let me take a moment to say that I'm upset anytime something isn't adapted from Ed Brubaker.
Well, I think that's the most disappointing thing about Gotham is we were all hoping it would be like a Gotham Central-esque thing, and then it turned out to be this.
Not thing. That.
Batman Beginnings.
And it turned a mess is what it turned. Anyway. However, in the midst of all this, Sony released the first season of Powers, a crime drama set in a superpowered world based on the comic by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming. Excuse me. I like it a lot, and Eddie Izzard gets to chew the scenery to bits playing a villain. Have any of you seen it? And if so, do you have any thoughts?
We reported on it when it went into production, but it was on the PlayStation Network, and as I don't own a PlayStation,
it's actually pretty good.
I've never watched it.
I don't have an excuse. I have a PlayStation. I just haven't watched it.
I've seen one episode and I enjoyed it. I think it's well written. Like Slithery says, Eddie Izzard is phenomenal in it, but Eddie Izzard is always phenomenal.
I feel bad that I haven't watched it because it sounds great.
Yeah, no, it's really well done, and I think we could use more like it. Good, it's a good twist on a crime procedural type show.
I'll have to take a look at that later.
Yeah.
Well, that's really all we've got in the mailbag today.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like some. Is that a Twix bar? Mine. Calling it. It's mine. I get the Twix bar.
Well, you're the only one physically located wherever that Twix bar is, so
yeah,
I can't even see it.
Come fight me for it. Come fight me.
I can't see it either.
I'll fight you for it.
It could be in any bar, and I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Anyways, we should do the Vomit Hat Steve challenge.
We'll do the Vomit Hat Steve challenge. For those of you who don't know what the Vomit Hat Steve challenge is, every episode I go out and I read the section of a book, and the challenge to you is that you have to guess what book it's from. Now, if you guess the book right, you get the following benefits. You get added to the Hall of Awesome. Benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. You get your name read aloud every episode. We add your name to the website and nothing else. That is all you get. Stop being greedy.
Yeah. I mean, you could have this Twix bar if you really wanted, but you got to fight me for it.
You'd have to fight him for it. And honestly, if you were just willing to fight him for it, no matter what, you could have it. All right. So the current members of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. Arkham Zero, Rena Innocenti, Cheesy McDamu, Krista, Slithery D, Shameless Otaku, The Random Ramblings Man, Corfan, Capito, Chris Graham, Lily Saurus, Paper Godzilla, and Cavsy.
Woo!
All right. Now, I've been reading from the same book for several episodes, and I'm going to continue to do so right now.
Because why not?
Because stuff. Mozart was only 6 when Maria Theresa of Austria summoned him to the court at Vienna. If you could tell me what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com and click on the contact form.
That's I know that one. That's from the Avril Lavigne manga.
Oh, but at no point will I ever read anything from the Avril Lavigne manga. If you know what book it's actually from,
definitely in there.
That's not the Avril Lavigne manga. Go to nerdandtie.com and click on the contact form and tell us, or just tell us anything else you want us to read about in the mailbag. It's exciting. It's wonderful. It's full of cheese.
Cheese not guaranteed.
Oh, dear Lord.
Should I take us home?
I don't know.
Well, I don't think we have anything else to talk about this week.
Yeah. So, as always, thank you all for tuning in on this fortnight's episode of Nerd and Tie. As always, we'll see you again in one more fortnight, and be on the lookout because our crowdfunding campaign for Nexpo launches this coming Tuesday. So, feel free to donate to that. We would appreciate it because we want to make Nexpo the best convention you've ever been to.
And remember to rate and review the podcast on both iTunes and Stitcher. You can subscribe to us through both services. Stitcher has an app for both Apple and Android products, so
Sure does.
super awesome. So remember to rate and review us because we want everyone else to know how awesome you think we are.
We dare you to.
We dare you to.
Do it.
Yeah, we double dog dare you.
We should say who we
Triple.
were.
As always, I'm Professor Firsters.
I'm Trey Dorn.
And I'm Nick Izumi.
Have a wonderful fortnight, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
And keep on sparking in the free world.
Or don't. It's your choice. It's always your choice. Dance party.
Don't do this. You cannot be